All right. So I guess we're missing our friend, huh? Justin, the other Justin. But maybe he'll show up later. Okay, so welcome to everyone.
The other Justin actually just emailed me asking me if it was 3 and if it was the same Zoom. So I'm assuming he'll be on any minute.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, welcome to everyone. Good afternoon. Hare Krishna. Bhajanarayan Swami is there in Las Vegas. So I think he's giving the Sunday feast talk.
He actually did the Saturday night talk, and he did one this morning, and it was absolutely amazing. I could have listened to him talk forever.
Good. So yeah, he has a lot to say. It's good. You know, devotees have a lot to say. So, all right. So now we will continue on to lesson 5. Lesson 5 is entitled Guru Pad Ashraya. So Pad Ashraya means shelter, and Pada means the feet, so shelter of the lotus feet of a guru. So the topics are Prabhupada Padashraya, and then Diksha, initiation, Shiksha, instructing, Guru Padashraya, taking shelter of the feet of a Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. So yes, again, the tradition is we have one Diksha Guru, right? And many Shiksha Gurus. So that's on your test. Just if they ask you how many Diksha Gurus can you have, you say one. How many Shiksha Gurus? Many. So also the Ritvik arguments, you'll have to know some of those as well. All right, so guidelines for Prabhupada. So here's another writing exercise. List some specific ways we can develop a deep, authentic, devotional relationship with Srila Prabhupada from the very beginning of our spiritual life. So we'll take a few minutes to do that. List some specific ways we can develop a deep, authentic, devotional relationship with Srila Prabhupada from the beginning of our spiritual life. Would you like to share?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll repeat what Pawan says here.
Okay. The first thing is to knowing and accepting Srila Prabhupada is our Acharya for the movement, especially for beginners. Second is following his instructions, listening to his lectures. Because without listening to the voice, the sound is really hard to relate to any person. It's just the way we interact. So the more we listen, more we develop.
Okay. So Pawan was saying that we should try to get to know Srila Prabhupada and accept him as our founder Acharya, teacher of the Hare Krishna movement. And he was saying that if we listen to the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, it's very good. And he was just giving like from a logical perspective, generally when you think of having a relationship with someone, there's some communication, like you're talking with them in some way or other. So it's important Pawan was saying it's important to hear the lectures because you get to hear Srila Prabhupada's voice. There's also these, I don't know if, I don't remember us talking about it, or maybe you all already know about this, but if you go on YouTube, you look up following Srila Prabhupada, there's a series of videos just called, following Srila Prabhupada. It's a series of videos that were filmed by a Prabhupada disciple, and they traveled through with Srila Prabhupada throughout the whole world. And what they did is with all of this footage, they interviewed so many devotees, and these devotees were saying, like, for example, Prabhupada arrives in Los Angeles at the airport, and there's a bunch of devotees, and they're chanting in the airport. And then while this footage is going on of Srila Prabhupada arriving in the Los Angeles airport, LAX, there's remembrance going on. And this devotee said, yes, when I saw Srila Prabhupada, he was, very effulgent, and I immediately started crying and this and that. And we all offered our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. And amazing enough, some random businessman, he also offered his obeisances. He bowed down to Srila Prabhupada. And I was, there's so many things they say. So, but it goes like that. The footage all over the world, France, India, this, that, and it describes what Prabhupada's doing in the film, like what was going on, according to these disciples. So anyways, it's good to watch that too. You could do a following Srila Prabhupada binge. Would anyone like to share anything else in relation to this?
I can share. I had listened to lectures. That was the first thing. And then I put read his books, listen to devotees that knew him, which would be, in person or like I said, on those videos. We're fortunate enough to have, Srila Prabhupada's deity at our temple. So, you could go visit him there and sit with him and just kind of, communicate, chant my rounds, do the prayers, kirtan and singing, and just to act right, to be a good representative of Srila Prabhupada and the movement, and to follow the 4 principles.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. there was, yeah, we can pray to Srila Prabhupada, and we should, it's a good idea. There's three, you could say there's three ways, or you could say three main authorities that we follow, that Vaishnavas follow. One is sadhu. Sadhu means like saintly people. Another one is guru. And then another one is shastra, or scripture. So sadhu, shastra, and guru. Sadhu, saintly persons; shastra, scripture; and guru, the teacher. Now, sometimes we're trying to figure out what we should do in our life. Should I move here? Should I move there? Should I get this job? Should I get that job? Should I marry this person? Should I marry that person? Should I divorce this person? Should I, whatever. There's so many things that we may be trying to figure out. Or we may have we want to know, should I do this service? Should I do that service, right? There's different things that we're trying to get direction. It's just natural. We need direction. So these three sources, saintly people, our gurus, and scripture, they give us direction. They give us direction. Now, we just have to be a little careful in the application, because we may be feeling a certain inspiration to do this service, do that service, but it has to be confirmed. Like, for example, if we say, I prayed to Srila Prabhupada, or I prayed to Krishna, and now I'm feeling this special inspiration. But we should confirm from other sources if the inspiration's really true. So in other words, if we pray to Prabhupada and we get some inspiration, then we should talk to our other gurus. We should consult the scripture. We should talk to other saintly people to say, this is what my inspiration is. Does this sound in line with Krishna consciousness? Because sometimes religious people have gotten a lot of inspiration, but it's inspiration to do stuff that is, questionable. Like, oh, I got this inspiration to burn down this building or something. It's coming from God, But there is one example I heard recently, one devotee, one guru. He said that he was guiding one devotee lady, and she was in Europe, and guiding through email. She was asking questions. So then she asked the question, what should I do I have a lot of time, I'm semi-retired, what should I do with my time? And then he advised her, maybe you should distribute books. You should distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. And she didn't like that. So anyways, she emailed him back, and she said, based on your last email you gave me, dear Guru, I prayed to Srila Prabhupada about whether I should distribute books or not, and how I should respond to you about me dedicating my life to book distribution. And after praying to Srila Prabhupada, he communicated with me that how is it? That I should kick you in the head. That was her. She said, Prabhupada told me that you gave me this instruction to distribute books, and he told me that I should just kick you in the head for giving this instruction. So, of course, this is an extreme. This is, I haven't heard about, this. I heard it recently, but one of the gurus I listened to sometimes, he said this. You can imagine getting that email, you're like, okay, Prabhupada said that that you should kick me in the head because I'm advising you to shoot books doesn't sound exactly right. I remember one time also, one person, he wanted to be a guru. But many devotees, for different reasons, they didn't feel that he was fit for it. For many very apparent, like very clear reasons, he wasn't fit for it. So anyways, one time he approached one of his peers, and he said, I had a dream last night, and Srila Prabhupada said that I should become a guru. And then his peer responded, he said, oh, really? That's interesting. Because I had a dream last night also, and Srila Prabhupada told me that you shouldn't be a guru. Anyway. So we have to be careful with the dreams and the prayer. But it is there. It is there. I'm not discounting it. There can be dreams, and they can be a form of communication, and there can be prayer to Srila Prabhupada, and there can be a form of communication. But we just have to, double check with some other sources to make sure. So, yeah, but there's many things we could do. Yeah, like you said, follow on the principles, spending time having a Murti, or spending time at the temple with Srila Prabhupada in the form of his Murti. There's different things. So, all right.
Just
Yes.
part about this, that especially in this generation, our generation, like grand disciples, we have.
I'll repeat Pawan's question in a minute.
The special privilege we have is to associate with Prabhupada disciples directly.
Yes.
Which maybe next 20 years people be there, they will be leaving. So if we develop relationship with them, then it's like they have associated with him directly. So
yes.
That is very strong.
Yeah, Pawan's saying if we associate with, as grand disciples of Prabhupada, not direct disciples, if we associate with the direct disciples of Prabhupada, who are still around, then that's a way of associating with Prabhupada. And he was saying that in the next however many years, decade or so, others may not have that, others won't have that opportunity because the Prabhupada disciples are all in advanced age. So we could try to take advantage of if we have the opportunity.
Did you say what I don't know the statue of Prabhupada at the temple? What is that called? Is there a term?
Murti, it's M-U-R-T-I, Murti. Murti just means literally the translation is form. So yeah, it's like a deity. It's the same principle. So all right, well, there's a few quotes here. As the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the preeminent teacher and ultimate authority within our society, Srila Prabhupada has a unique relationship with every ISKCON devotee. ISKCON devotees shall instruct new members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and to receive guidance, training, and assistance from those who are instructing them in Krishna consciousness. ISKCON members shall choose when and from where and from whom they wish to request initiation. All right, Krishna, Jessa. I think you have to unmute.
Hey, sorry I'm late today. I was at the boat festival up in Redmond, so we got stuck in traffic on the way home.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Krishna.
We're glad you made it. We're on page 30. Just reading some quotes. ISKCON members shall choose when and from whom they wish to request initiation. So this is an important point because it's an individual journey. It's not like there shouldn't be any social pressure, any peer pressure, anything like that. It is an individual choice, and it should be a choice that is made in a very intelligent and sober way. who will be my guru. Not whimsical. So it's up, in other words, it's up to whoever wants to take initiation. It's their responsibility to choose and ask. They must focus their attention on Srila Prabhupada as the founder Charya and their preeminent Shiksha Guru. After chanting the pranam mantra of their Diksha Guru, all Diksha Gurus, they have a pranam mantra. Sometimes it's more, means the pranam mantra describes some of the special characteristics of a particular guru. But sometimes the gurus don't have a second part. All the first parts are usually the same. The first part is Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate, the guru's name, Iti Namine. So that's similar to Prabhupada's, which just means that I offer my respectful obeisances to such and such guru who is very dear to Krishna, having taken shelter of his feet, lotus feet, dear in this world. So, but then there's second parts to a particular Diksha's guru pranam mantra, like Prabhupada's Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dashatarane, right? He's delivering the Western world from impersonalism and voidism. Gauravani Prachadine, right? Saraswati Devi. So yeah, when we chant our Guru's pranam mantra, we want to chant Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantra either before or after their Guru's pranam mantra. So, all right. All right, so there's another short writing exercise. Looks like a small box. I guess they don't want you to give a bigger answer. But what is the relationship between Diksha, initiation, and Shiksha, instructing, Guru Parashraya and Prabhupada Parashraya? So what's the relationship between taking shelter of Prabhupada and taking shelter of other gurus? What's the relationship between both of them? So we'll just take a few minutes. Yes, Justin. B.
What's a Padashraya?
Pada means feet, and ashraya means shelter. So it means you're taking shelter of the lotus feet of a guru. It's you could say poetic term to say that you're taking refuge in this person's instructions. Not that you're always laying under the lotus feet of your guru, literally. Like Prabhupada said one time, one person said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I want to travel. I want to follow you in your lotus feet wherever you go." And Prabhupada said, "That'll be very difficult because my lotus feet are always moving." Anyways. Hare Krishna. What about Sonia? Does Sonia want to share?
I feel like this one should be a pretty easy one to answer, but in the same time, I'm kind of feeling lost. But I'll kind of go with Tom, and he was giving me his idea. And what he came up with, I thought was really great. I mean, just disciplic succession. You know, our Diksha and Siksha gurus have learned from him, you know, whoever was a disciple of his, learned from him, from Prabhupada. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's about all I've been able to come up with. I've been having a little bit of a hard time on this. Again, as simple as I think it should be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes the nature of questions, they're kind of asked in a how a question is asked can seem a little confusing, or yeah. But yeah, the point you made was that the principle of disciplic succession, what is the relation between taking shelter of a Shiksha or Diksha guru and taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada? Practically, in one sense, it's the same, because the Diksha and Shiksha guru are supposed to be repeating what Srila Prabhupada said. So you're taking shelter of the particular instructions which the Diksha and Shiksha guru give and what Srila Prabhupada gives. So the message is the same. Just like one time, for example, we're going back to a dream. We just discussed one dream, so we'll discuss one more. But one of Prabhupada's early disciples, Hayagriva Das, he had a dream. So I'll tell you his dream. In this dream, he dreamt of Krishna speaking to Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita. And then in the dream, Krishna transformed into Prabhupada, and Arjuna transformed into Hayagriva, and Prabhupada was instructing Hayagriva the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And that was the essence of his dream. And then Srila Prabhupada was told this dream by Hayagriva. And he asked Prabhupada, what do you think about it? And Prabhupada said, very good dream. Not that Prabhupada is Krishna, because the Charya doesn't become God ever. That's Mayavad philosophy. And not that Hayagriva becomes Arjuna, literally, that's also Mayavad philosophy. But the idea of the message being the same. Krishna spoke to Arjuna, okay, but I'm speaking to you the same message. So when we take shelter, the relationship between the Diksha, taking shelter of a Diksha and Shiksha guru, and taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, the relationship is that Srila Prabhupada and the Diksha guru and Shiksha guru, they're giving the same instructions. And they're guiding the disciple in becoming fully Krishna conscious. Yeah, so that's an idea. Does anybody have any other thing they like to say about that? Any questions or comments or further discussion? What do you think, Justin Miller?
I mean, I think Diksha, not the Diksha and Shishka gurus, it's like this succession of like priority, not maybe priority is not the way to put it, but you know, it's like you have your spiritual master, and so you want to get as much instruction and guidance from them because you're taking shelter immediately to that at their feet. But then your Shiksha gurus are like sort of more experienced senior stand-ins who can supplement when you're not able to converse with your guru by like yourself. And then, I mean, if it's all discipline succession and Srila Prabhupada is like it always like a good, I don't want to say fallback because that sounds like diminutive, but he's like, he's always there with books and teaching and stuff, or like, you know, videos or something like that. So it's like, you know, if you go, like, I don't have a guru, but like I learn a lot just by watching videos of like Prabhupada talking or discussing things or listening to people talk about his pastimes, or, you know, and getting lessons from various different teachers who are senior devotees, you know, so that in the books. I don't know. I guess that's how I see that relationship.
All right.
It's
Thank you.
kind of hard to answer though.
No, it was good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you had your hand raised, Tom.
Yeah, no, I was just while I was listening, and I feel like I'm gonna have a hard time trying to explain it, but I feel like for you to surrender to a guru, no matter who it is, especially when it's, you know, comes down from Srila Prabhupada disciple, like you're kind of accepting all the other prior gurus as your guru as well, because the knowledge is coming down that chain.
Yeah.
So it's really almost like it's no different to say, you know, if, you know, I take whoever is a guru that's Srila Prabhupada disciple, that's good as taking Srila Prabhupada. You're basically surrendering to Srila Prabhupada and his guru and his guru's guru. So
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Who's speaking? I thought I heard somebody. Did you hear somebody?
Yeah.
Is that Justin?
No, I have a comment, but I didn't say anything earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, this is very good, Tom, that the relation, the idea is that, okay, you surrender to a guru, but you're also surrendering, you should see that guru in relation to, you should see you taking shelter of a Diksha Shiksha guru. You should see that in relation to, you should see them in relation to Srila Prabhupada. They're not separate. So in other words, you're surrendering to a guru means you're also surrendering to Prabhupada, and you're also surrendering to the disciplic succession. And surrender shouldn't be a scary word. It just means that you're taking the guidance, you're taking the advice, you're taking the direction, the instructions. Of course, it also means engaging our bodies and minds and words and their particular mission or service, but that's what it means that's love, right? What's love if you don't show it in some practical ways? Like, for example, there could be a husband and wife, and then the husband could say, yes, I love you so much and I'll do anything for you, but the guy's just sitting on the couch all day eating Doritos and, you know, not doing anything practical. And you know, he never brings flowers, he never contributes financially, never does anything really. Oh, I love you so much. But all right, well, I guess it's nice, the words, but you know, there has to be some practical demonstration, right? So anyways, Justin B, you had a comment?
Yeah, me and Justin are having in sync thoughts here. Servant of the servant. So I heard a lecture, they said, you're actually getting more blessings the further away you are. The
Yes.
more servant you are, the more blessings. So materially, you want to be first, but spiritually, it's actually adding up the lower you are on the chain there.
Yes. That's true. Yes, that's true. All right, so there's a little, this is a more simple, say, diagram. Is that what it's called, right? So a simple diagram, more simple than the other one. But there's the disciple, right? And then there's the Shiksha Guru, and then the Diksha Guru, who are helping the disciple. And then there's Srila Prabhupada, who is helping the Shiksha and Diksha Gurus. So it's the Shiksha and Diksha Guru, they're working with Srila Prabhupada to elevate the disciple in Krishna consciousness. And the disciple in ISKCON should take shelter from these three sources. Take inspiration, take instruction, take guidance, take shelter, take refuge in these three. Shiksha Gurus, again, could be many. And Diksha Gurus one, and then there's Srila Prabhupada. So, and Shiksha Gurus, a Krishna conscious devotee who we could reach out to, who will answer our questions, who will guide us practically, who we have trust in, who we feel open to speak to about anything. And but it could also mean taking shiksha from a person, for example, hearing their lectures. If you have somebody who's not your Diksha Guru that you listen to regularly and that you really like, and you keep on listening, then that person is, a Shiksha Guru. Can be seen as a Shiksha Guru. So there's some quotes here. Shiksha Guru, okay, Shiksha Guru not speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. Sometimes a Diksha Guru is not present always. So that's it's often that the Diksha Guru is not present always. Now, there's two things, because traditionally the Guru would actually live in one place more or less with the disciples. So you'd have a very close relationship with them, with the Guru. But not always. There was the case of Ramanujacharya in South India, who had thousands of disciples, mostly in South India, but he had them all over India. So you could say that a lot of the disciples weren't getting that personal guidance so much, but they're getting the guidance more so from the Shiksha Gurus who were present in their lives more. But you also have a case of Advaita Acharya of the Panchatattva, Lord Chaitanya's associate. He was initiated by, I believe, Madhavendra Puri, but Madhavendra Puri just stopped there for one day, initiated him, and kept on moving. So you have different cases. But nowadays within ISKCON, a lot of the times you have Diksha Gurus who are world travelers who don't spend much time in one place, and have thousands of followers, and therefore may not be able to give so much personal guidance. And therefore there's the principle of Shiksha Gurus. But now ISKCON, I think, did I already bring this up?
Yeah.
What did I bring up?
More gurus.
More gurus. All right, I already bring it up. All right, good. So we don't have to talk about it again. But Srila Prabhupada says here, sometimes a Diksha Guru is not present always. Therefore, one can take learning from an advanced devotee. That is called the Shiksha Guru. So Diksha Guru is not around, then the Shiksha Guru should be there. Shiksha Guru does not mean he is speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. He is not a Shiksha Guru. He is a rascal. Honolulu Bhagavad Gita class. As such, a devotee is ultimately delivered by Sri Krishna acting through a combination of various manifestations of his mercy. These include, but not limited to, the Chaitya Guru, means the Guru in your heart. Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession. One's Diksha Guru, other Shiksha Gurus, the holy name, Shastra, scripture, the 9 processes of devotional service. So they really expand the terms here. So all these different variations of mercy act to deliver one. Spiritually mature managers may be the main Shiksha Gurus for devotees who are not their initiated disciples. And such relationships are to be fully encouraged by the initiating spiritual masters. So the last 2 were from the GBC, Governing Body Commission, which Bajranarayan Swami, he's a part of the GBC, so he's there visiting you all. GBC man. All right, so the next one's also from the GBC. Within these cooperative elements, Srila Prabhupada, as the founder Acharya of ISKCON, is the preeminent Shiksha Guru for all members of ISKCON. All members of ISKCON for all generations are encouraged to seek shelter of Srila Prabhupada. All members of ISKCON are entitled and encouraged to have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada through his books, teaching, service, and his ISKCON society. So before we move into the next lesson, does anybody have any comments and questions about any of that?
I just have a question on like,
Stevie has one, I'll repeat it.
so, well, are there sometimes devotees then who say, well, I just accept Prabhupada and I don't want to, I don't want to take initiation? And is that,
Okay.
is it, I wanted to say if that's like, yeah, is that okay? Or it's like, because I personally don't feel that. I feel like through Prabhupada's teachings, lectures, is that
Yeah.
he says to take shelter of a spiritual master. You know, he's not, and Prabhupada would never, he's not saying directly him, he's saying, you know, and that's what made me want to seek shelter of the Guru, was saying, Prabhupada saying like, hey, you need to do this. You need contact.
Yeah.
Direct connection.
Well, Stevie's saying that, does this lead some devotees to think that, well, better I don't get a guru because I could just get the Prabhupada's the best guru, so I should just take initiation Prabhupada. Well, yes, that was the whole Ritvik idea. And again, that Ritvik idea is coming from pretty much, it manifested after so many of the gurus were having problems, which we should remember that these gurus who Srila Prabhupada himself chose, because they have, you know, for example, the story of Adam and Eve of the Bible. You have Adam and Eve, and then God says, right, don't touch this apple, right? And then you have the serpent comes and he says, oh, go for it, you know, so what? Who cares what God, just go for it. And then God finds out, he's very mad. He says, okay, now get out of the Garden of Eden and go toil right in the field. And now you know the difference between good and evil. And then from that, there's a whole offset of bad reactions for all of humanity. But if you think about it, because you say, okay, was it Adam's problem? Was it Eve's problem? In other words, who made the mistake, right? But then you could start to question, well, where'd that serpent come from? You know, the serpent came from God. So anyways, so similarly, Srila Prabhupada was the one who picked these persons. So people could go after Prabhupada. Oh, he picked these persons. You know, what's that about? So he did pick them, but like one time my guru asked Prabhupada about about devotees. He asked Prabhupada personally the question. He said, Srila Prabhupada, I see that you give people high positions of responsibility in your movement, but sometimes they misuse that. And he said, and then Srila Prabhupada and then my guru asked, why is that? And then Srila Prabhupada said, I create people for people the best situation in which they could serve Krishna. And if they misuse it, that is their fault. That's their problem. So anyways, but Srila Prabhupada, he picked these people, these devotees to initiate, and then so many of them had issues, which we won't get into. The common issues of breaking certain principles and so on, doing things they shouldn't have done. So after this, then some devotees came up with the Ritvik theory that, hey, all these gurus are bogus and no one's ever really going to make the mark. So let's just throw away the guru principle. And now we're just going to get initiated by Prabhupada. So some devotees do that. But Prabhupada, anyways, there's so many reasons why we don't accept that, which are there on page what? They're on page 16. So again, these arguments refuting this theory should be memorized, at least some of them, because it'll be on the test. Yeah, Ritvik theory, page 16. So you can mark it for your test to try to remember some of those. Yeah. But the guru principle is good. It's not bad. This is a principle that Krishna created. It's a good principle. And just because some gurus have not lived up to the proper standard doesn't mean we should throw away the system. So, but it is a challenge.
Could you help me? Because that really does concern me. Because I'm not close to picking a guru yet. But there's some that I've been watching videos. I'm like, oh, then it always comes back in my mind, that stuff. I don't know if it happened in the 80s or 90s, whenever that weird stuff that went down. And I'm like, well, what if I pick this person that end up being weird like that? And then it's gonna just mess me up. Like, how do you get past that feeling? Or how do I get past that feeling?
All right. Thank you. Well, oh yeah, what I was going to say, which will relate to the question you just asked, which I didn't say for whatever reason, but a lot of these gurus who Srila Prabhupada, he chose them, and then there was problems of whatever, so many problems, intoxication, inappropriate association with the opposite sex, embezzling money, stuff like that. The normal, problems institutions have, right? Not normal, but the common. So, but we should note that, these devotees were only around for like 10 years as a devotee. That's not very long, especially to be put in such a high guru, like you're the guru and you have to initiate a bunch of disciples and you're our leader, but they've just been around for like 10 years. And they were all like young men in their 30s, so to expect them to live to such a high standard, some of them did make it, but most of them didn't. But to expect that was, in other words, it's not surprising. I've been around for just about 16 years in the ashram, and I could never imagine having to take the position of a guru 10 years into me practicing Krishna consciousness. So my point being is that now there's a whole system I mean, people aren't going to be a guru in ISKCON until they've been around for at least 20 years, at least. And that's on like, really good behavior and like, really, you could say proving oneself spiritually. Just so, for example, the sannyas ministry, it's a ministry that manages the sannyasis, those in the renounced sort of life, the swamis. From 1965 to 2010, they did a survey, and there was about what was it? I think there was something about 150 sannyasis who accept the renounced order of life, who took that vow of just, being a monk and, traveling and spreading Krishna consciousness. Now, out of everyone who's taken that vow, there was about, I think it was like something like 80 who gave it up. Who weren't able to stick to their vows, and they gave it up. And there was about 40 who left the world, who passed away, and there was about 10 who just left the movement. So there was the percentage of those who actually stayed was less. But they also did a study within the last 15 to 20 years, the amount of sannyasis or swamis or gurus, because generally the gurus are swamis, the amount of them who gave up their vows within the last 15, 20 years was significantly less than, the 70s, 80s, 90s. It was significantly less. Just within the last 15, 20 years. I've been around for the last 15, 20 years, 16 years, whatever, but I hear about it because I'm connected with devotees, and I hear, if there's some problems or whatever. So within the last 15 years, there has been a few, but in relation to the past, I mean, there was a lot. Like it was just like, left, right, left. There's a lot, So in other words, the amount has really significantly dropped. And just to be a Swami nowadays, they've also analyzed it, because to give young men this Swami title, they've found that to be a little bit of an issue. Because, so in other words, they test, the men out for a while, and they actually don't give them sannyas until they're at least 40 years old. So in other words, they've lived like at least 20 years of Krishna consciousness, practicing on good behavior and, everything. And then they're given sannyas, maybe, because then you have to do a whole 5-year waiting list. It's a 5-year waiting list to take sannyas. And then the ministry is kind of looking at you. They're asking, the sannyas ministry is asking people about you. And, they're really, in other words, they've taken a lot of steps to ensure that this doesn't happen. I mean, of course, anything can happen, but they've taken a lot of steps to try to eliminate it. And it has worked within the last 15 years. And then just being a sannyasi, you're not automatically a Diksha guru. You also have to do some other training and other things. There's classes you attend and this and that. So there's a significantly less of a chance of that happening. But ultimately, if one is understanding the importance of having a guru, then they'll feel that, okay, well, I need to put my faith somewhere in someone, and I need to take initiation from someone. So let me analyze intelligently, soberly, and try to figure out who is the best person for me and place my faith in them. And you could say it is a risk, but everything's really a risk. I mean, people get married, it's a risk. I mean, people people get a guru, it's a risk. I mean, walking outside, it's a risk, you know, because it's a small risk, but we don't know exactly, right? Some people could really get, you know, it's unfortunate actually, they get paranoid and they don't go outside and this and that, but so everything's a risk. So but at one point we may feel that, okay, this is a risk that I need to take, it's important, and let me take it. And again, just through that study, I mean, it's a lot less, you know. But then again, there is the principle that it could happen, and then there's this idea that we're going to discuss later on, which is called guru tyaga. Tyaga means to renounce, and guru means the teacher. You're renouncing the guru. Under the case, or in the case that the guru stops following Srila Prabhupada and deviates in various ways. But again, it's like when you board a plane, they say, all right, you know, in the case of a crash, this is what we're going to do. Generally, the planes don't crash. It's a rare circumstance in which the planes crash, and if the planes were crashing a lot more, then people wouldn't fly as much. So there was that problem in the 70s and 80s, mostly that time, 70s and 80s, in which there was a lot of gurus crashing, like jumbo jets, unfortunately. But through training, through education, through taking proper steps, and then for not giving the people the position of guru so quickly, it's significantly dropped, and it happens not so much. So it shouldn't be a overwhelming concern, I think, in our mind. So anyways, I hope that.
Yes, thank you so much. It's good, like ISKCON is doing their due diligence, and then I have to do my due diligence, and then, you know, if you happen to pick a lemon, well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I feel much better, thank you.
All right, good.
I heard from one devotee.
Pawan has a comment. I'll repeat it.
He's senior Prabhupada disciple, important position. He was saying very logical, like point that when Prabhupada was about to leave, there was emergency situation
Yeah.
to sustain the society.
Yeah.
And at that time, and even during Prabhupada time,
Yeah, very good point.
the people who joined the movement, a lot of disciples admit that it was emergency.
Yeah.
In 1 week initiated.
Yeah.
First, second, they become like sannyasi, right?
Yeah.
Like within 1 month. So that can't be taken as an example of the whole parampara system and the whole literature. And
Yes. Very good.
but now, like, we are established.
It's more stable.
We have more system
Yes.
to monitor, to
Yes.
see what.
Yes.
So I think we are in better situation than 70.
Yes. Yeah, Pawan made a very good point, which I'm glad he brought up. And the point is that when Srila Prabhupada was starting his movement, he was working for 12 years, and that's it. And he knew he was leaving, so he had to design things in such a way as that they would continue after his disappearance. That's a tough thing to do. I mean, there's so many movements that, like Mahatma Gandhi's movement of nonviolence and agrarian culture, to live off the land, not industrialize everything. his followers, after his demise, they changed everything. They industrialized everything, and it's just a big mess. In other words, they didn't follow what he said. So Srila Prabhupada was once asked about that. They asked him, Prabhupada, Swami, what will happen to your movement when you leave? And then Prabhupada said, the future of my movement is very bright, provided my followers follow my instructions. Or he said, or else what can I do? He said, Mahatma Gandhi, he had his movement, and then after he left, they changed everything, and then it was all spoiled. So he said they have to follow. But Prabhupada was trying, he was setting up systems to allow things to continue. And he did a great job because it continued. But one of the things that Pawan's bringing up is that it was emergency situation. Like on the battlefield, for example. On the battlefield, if there's a sergeant, right? Sergeant's like the main. Okay. There's a sergeant out there. He's the one, or commander or whatever, the highest rank, right? He's the one overseeing the war. But if he's taken out, you have to put people who are less qualified in that position. It's emergency situation. You have to put them in the position, to take over, take charge. Similarly with for example, people may want a senior doctor, right? Rather than a junior doctor. Of course, everybody rather like a senior doctor than a junior doctor. But in the case that the senior doctor is just not available or something happened or whatever, then you take a junior doctor who's qualified to a degree, but is learning still on the learning while, working. So Srila Prabhupada, it was very much emergency situation. And if Srila Prabhupada was around longer, he would have stayed the Charya, the guru, for perpetual years and trained all of his disciples. And then when they became more qualified, they said, okay, now you take this position. But it was an emergency situation, and therefore he put people in positions that were very challenging, and they did they did what they could to execute it. So anyways, that was Pawan's comment. Yes, Justin.
Another guru question: are enough young people taking up the role, or is it only people who are in their older years?
Well, at least to be a Swami, you have to be 40. I'm not sure. I haven't heard about a guru, like a Diksha guru. But definitely has to be over 40, I suspect. But there is that push to have more younger devotees, which they're not exactly like young, not exactly old either, but younger devotees take up the role of Diksha Guru. Means not direct disciples of Prabhupada, means grand disciples of Prabhupada. We already have some of them in our society, but there's a bit of a push from the GBC to ask more of them to do that service. More gurus, more gurus. Because some of these devotees have been around 30 years, whatever. So, so there is a push, but we'll see, because there may be a push, but people have to agree to do it. So we'll see. All right. So we could go to page 32. This is selecting a guru, lesson 6, selecting a guru. Lesson topics: qualifications of a bona fide guru, selecting a guru. So we have another writing exercise. We have 2 writing exercises. But first, we'll just you don't have to answer the second one, but we'll first focus on the first question, which is, what are you looking for in a guru? So this is a writing exercise. What are you looking for in a guru? Hmm. Hmm. So Justin B, like to share?
Yes, Hare Krishna, yes. My answer has 2 points. Point number one, following Prabhupada's instructions very closely without making any kind of concessions for the modern day. I like the idea that nothing changes. It's passed down from teacher to teacher. That appeals to me. And the second point is that I watched a lot of the Prabhupada memories videos, and every devotee felt a real sense of love from Prabhupada and a real connection as the guru.
Oh, so you're saying that you would also like to feel that connection?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Okay, nice. So, so yeah, for the guru to repeat what Prabhupada said, and the disciplic session says, and of course, when we say repeat, it's not like a parrot, but they actually have realization of it also. So, so yeah, that's an important feature, and yeah, to feel some spiritual connection, some yeah, some deep spiritual connection with the guru is also very important. Does anybody have any other? Pawan has some.
In general, I think the gurus should have their own guru
The guru should have their own guru. Okay.
because sometimes people may follow Prabhupada, but they may not have belief in other people, his disciple.
Yes.
So basically, this would be in Parampara system.
Yeah, they should be in the disciplic succession. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's actually, it seems, that you said that, because that's what, when I was been praying for, I had, I looked at a few teachers, right? Like, I'm kind of told to like observe a few teachers.
Stevie has given a comment. I'll repeat it.
And, there's a few that I really was like, oh, they inspire me, or there's something about them. But there was a lecture that the teacher I aspired for, he was reading Prabhupada's letters. And it was interesting because it wasn't his words, it was Prabhupada's words. But the way he read Prabhupada's letters, I was like, you could just tell there's just this love. And then after that, I was like, that's kind of what really planted the seed in my heart. I was like, whoa, I think this is like, I'm on track. And then I listened to another lecture of hers, and he always starts with all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Even if you like any devotees of his that are going to say something or comment, they first start with all glories to Srila Prabhupada. He does the same thing. And that's what really like showed me that system. That's what like, that he was honoring the Parampara system. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just focused on him.
Yeah.
It's kind of him saying, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Like, he was always saying Prabhupada. Even
Yeah.
though I'm looking at him, I felt the most connected to Prabhupada through that, because of someone having that heart.
Nice.
I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, so Stevie's saying that the particular person he's initiated, aspiring for to be his guru, he appreciated how this particular guru would always remind him of Srila Prabhupada. And for example, he would say all glories to Srila Prabhupada before his speech. And also, he was saying how this particular guru was reading letters, because Srila Prabhupada's letters are available for everyone to read. But he was reading it with so much devotion that it was very impactful for Stevie, and it planted a seed in his mind. Okay, this person is my guru. So yeah, the principle of the guru always keeping the disciplic succession in mind, and also informing others. It's not just me. There's a disciplic succession. So rather being like self-centered, they're focused on the disciplic succession. So that's also an important qualification. So yeah, that they don't change things. Of course, doesn't mean they're a parrot, but they speak with realization that they're in disciplic succession, that they're representing the parampara, the disciplic succession, and they're reminding people of that, Prabhupada. So these are different important things.
Especially like in India, like beyond ISKCON, we see there are a lot of gurus.
Yeah.
But if you go and ask them,
Who's your guru? They don't.
So they are self-appointed gurus, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of amass a lot of wealth and influence, so they become gurus.
Pawan's saying in India, it's very common if there's a lot of gurus and you go up to me and say, who's your guru? And they say, I don't have one. I'm self-appointed. And but that's just not our tradition. The disciple has a guru and it goes back like that. No self-appointing. So
That's also spreading to the West.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Westerners are
wisdom.
doing that too.
So on page 33, there's this, one of the qualifications of a guru is listed on page 33. So this is something that devotees could look for. Of course, to study someone an absolute depth, and every single we can't study anyone in absolute depth, but to the degree we could study someone, we should study them. Not that you have to stalk the guru or something, but study him from a reasonable perspective. But anyways, one of the qualifications is here is vacho vegam, manasa kroda vegam, jiva vegam, udarapasta vegam, etan vegan, yo vishaheta dira, sarvam apimam prativim sashishya. A sober person, so this is talking about a guru, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. This is from the Nectar of Instruction, verse 1. So in other words, the guru has to be a Goswami. Go means senses, and Swami means master. So they have to be in control of their senses. They cannot be a slave of their senses. Because if one is a slave of if a guru, if a person in the position of a guru is a slave of their senses, that means that they will speak, for example, not the pure message in order to get more followers. Why? Because it's a popularity. They want popularity. In other words, they haven't checked the mind's urges for popularity. But a guru means they check that urge for popularity. They say, I'm not speaking I'm not speaking at all to amass a bunch of followers. I'm speaking the truth. And if people don't like it, then all right, fine. They don't have to follow me. But if someone is a godas, they're a servant of their senses or slave of their senses, they'll say, okay, well, my mind is pushing me to speak in such a way as I could have a lot of followers, kind of water down the message or completely say something different just so I could get some popularity. Mm-hmm. Or if someone's not in control of their senses, they'll think, all right, great, I'll be a guru and then I'll amass a bunch of money. I'll embezzle and I'll use it in inappropriate ways, right? They're not controlling their senses. Or if they're angry, if disciples are doing wrong things and the guru loses his temper in a very materialistic, uncontrolled way, then that's not good either. They have to control their anger. They have to control their speech. They have to control so many things. So this is important because it puts a guru in the position of not being able to be bought out by anything or anyone. Means they're not like, for example, there's been companies in history who have done really bad things just for the sake of money. But a guru doesn't care about that stuff. The only thing the guru wants to do is just spread the message of Krishna consciousness, and no matter what is presented to him in terms of sense gratification of the body or mind, the guru doesn't have any interest in that. So that's a guru. They have to be in control of the senses. So it's an important qualification. Because again, if someone's not in control, then it's a problem, because the guru is given a lot of respect, a lot of adoration, a lot of attention, a lot of different service and so on. And if the guru has not control of the mind, the senses and everything, then it just goes to their head, and then they have some problems. So that's what we need to look for in a guru. They have to control. That's one. Another qualification is tadvigyanartam sagurum eva bigachet samitpani shotriyam brahmanishtam. So this is another one. To understand these things properly, one must humbly approach with firewood in hand a spiritual master who is learned in the Vedas and firmly devoted to the absolute truth. So the guru has to be learned in the Vedas. They have to know the Vedas. They have to be able to answer questions. They have to know. And they have to be devoted to the absolute truth. And free from sense gratification. They cannot be bound by the desires of the materialistic desires. So another quote, a bona fide guru does not impart some self-styled concocted knowledge. His knowledge is standard and received from the disciplic succession, parampara system. He is also firmly fixed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahmanishtam. These are his two qualifications. He must have heard the Vedic knowledge through the disciplic succession, and he must be established in service to the Supreme Lord. He doesn't have to be a very learned scholar, but he must have heard from the proper authority. So those are some. Now another writing exercise here. This is a fun one. This is a fun one. List in the box below some inappropriate reasons for selecting a guru. So what are some inappropriate reasons for selecting a guru? How many inappropriate ways can we think of?
The first thing, thinking about is whether the gurus are in good demand. Like, whether people want to have a guru. A lot of time people don't want to commit because it's like formal commitment.
Yeah.
And if they don't, a lot of people don't want that inappropriate. It's like if I don't want to do it, that's like complication. Right? But yeah, still, if you think of inappropriate, like many times, I could find two, like just for because everybody has to take a guru, people it comes in mind to kind of have one guru, because otherwise you what
Like peer pressure.
exactly.
Everybody else is doing it.
Yeah. Second is like, especially when selecting, right? A lot of time in the mind comes that someone who's famous and a lot of followers, everybody wants to go to them.
Yes.
Like this, because everybody believes in it, so let's
Yeah.
believe in it.
Yeah. Pawan's saying that two inappropriate reasons he thought was that for like peer pressure, like, oh, everybody else is doing it, so I'll also get initiated, but I may not be ready. Or another reason is that let me go after a guru who is very famous and well respected and popular, and take initiation from him. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that we cannot take initiation from somebody who's famous and has a lot of disciples. We can, but we just have to be careful that as far as possible, and hopefully completely, that we're not accepting a guru on the basis of anything else besides us just wanting to have a relationship with that particular guru, as accepting him as a great devotee. In other words, if somebody enters a relationship with someone because, hey, I want to have a relationship with you because you'll help me in my my becoming famous, if I have a really great guru, then all right, well, I could kind of throw that name around a little bit. I'm a disciple of so and so. We just have to be careful. So that's one thing. Yeah. Popularity. Are there any other things that
I have a list. You covered some of them already, but as I'm writing it, I'm like, Diane, you're kind of shallow. but it's true. Popular and famous. That was the first thing, because there are the like standout ones. And then even one that maybe you think, oh, he or she's attractive, that they have money. Because I'll be honest, I've seen some of the gurus that live in California, and you can tell, by what they're doing in the parties they have, like there's money there, that they'll be able to give me benefits besides the spiritual wisdom, like, hanging out at a big house in California, that I can benefit material, like you said, from their association, to use their name or reputation to enhance myself or my business. And then just, someone that's like the head of a large temple, as opposed to like us here with our little temple, which we love. Thank you.
Yeah. It could be, okay, my guru has a huge, farm project and huge temple, and he's got like a few of them, rather than, a guru who's not heading up a project, or maybe he's heading up a small project or something like that. Or so, these could be inappropriate reasons why we should take initiation from one and not the other, because ultimately, if the guru is a pure devotee, it doesn't really matter where he lives or what, this or that, or it doesn't matter ultimately. Like Srila Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a great scholar and, so many things, but his guru was Gaura Das Babaji. Now, Gaura Das Babaji was a Babaji. It means he was living out in the forest chanting Hare Krishna day and night. And it said that he was actually illiterate. He could not read or write. He could to a degree, but practically illiterate. But people of these scholars would come to him and ask him spiritual questions. And the idea is that through his chanting and through his meditation, he would actually get he had all the knowledge in him through the meditation. But you see, the difference was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a scholar everyone accepted, and Gaura Das Babaji was illiterate. But when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur approached Gaura Das Babaji, Gaura Das Babaji said, no, I'm not going to initiate you. And then he said, and then Gorkashore, because the interesting thing was that like anyone, any guru like ever would love to have a disciple like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very famous, learned, I mean, so qualified. But Gorkashore Das Babaji said, no, I'm not going to accept you. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was thinking, either this person is extremely arrogant, or he's completely transcendental. Of course, Gorkashore Das Babaji was completely transcendental. But then later on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him again, and then Gorkashore Das Babaji said, okay, I'll ask Lord Chaitanya. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went back to me and said, did you ask Lord Chaitanya? And Gorkashore Das Babaji said, I forgot to. And then later on, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, did you ask Lord Chaitanya again? And he said, yes, I asked Lord Chaitanya, and he didn't give me the blessings to do so. So then at that point, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur begged him. He said, please, my life is useless. I cannot live without taking initiation from you. And then Gorkashore Das Babaji said, okay, fine. You go take a bath at the local river, you come back, and I'll initiate you. So then he initiated him. But the point being is that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he accepted a guru that was illiterate. He was a great scholar. So, and it's not that Gorkashore Das Babaji had a bunch of projects and this and that, and he was famous, but it wasn't like he was famous as some world star or something. But his real thing is that he was a pure devotee. So that's an important thing. Yeah. So does anybody have any other?
I have one list out. The second.
What about Tom and Sandhya? You have something? Let me just ask them first.
Yeah, I mean, wrote like what we heard already. Matt wrote, someone who's very, very lenient on the regular principles. I mean, like you don't have to do 16, or someone who's really kind of trying to be lenient, so to speak. And then anybody changing like the Vedic wisdom, to make it fit whatever it is that they're trying to preach, or if they're not sticking by what's being handed down, I think that's kind of a red flag for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And I put down one of the ones I put down was picking them because they claim they're a guru. So I know one of the things I've heard is, no one that's a guru is going around saying, I'm a guru, you should follow me because I'm a guru. Like they just are. So I put that down, and a lot of the ones that we've already gone over as well, choosing violence and whatnot. Yeah, I think we're kind of all on the same page there.
Nice. Yeah, another one that I thought of, which is a good one, I think. Sometimes now we're not the bodies, we're not the bodies, we're the soul. But sometimes people, they prefer to take initiation from a non-American Vaishnav, because they feel that, okay, well, this person's Indian, so that means they're more qualified. But just because one is Indian doesn't mean they're more qualified necessarily. It's a good birth. It's a better birth than America in many ways. Of course, there's a lot of funny things going on in India nowadays also, but what I'm getting at is that in the Nectar of Instruction, it says that we shouldn't judge a Vaishnav on the basis of their birth or any deformity, for example, or being of a certain ethnic background. But a devotee is a devotee, and a guru is a guru, and a swami is a swami. like Prabhupada said, we shouldn't think this is an American Goswami and this is a Indian Goswami, but they should be respected on the same platform. And just because one is born in India, and may have a better upbringing, there's a lot of people in India. There's a lot of, I mean, it's not the spiritual world, you know. There's a lot of things going on in India that aren't so good as well. Like for example, you have the case of Kamsa, right? Kamsa was the Asura or the demon after Krishna, wanting to kill Krishna. So he also came from India. So it's not that just because one's born in India, they're automatically more qualified in terms of being a guru. So that has to be taken into consideration as well. Now, of course, maybe culturally speaking, I could understand. You know, if someone's born and raised in India, and then they may feel more inclined to take initiation from an Indian guru, maybe the same language or just cultural things. Because sometimes American devotees, you know, they become gurus and, you know, they still kind of keep some of their Americanness to them, you know, culturally speaking. So then the Indian devotees relating to the American gurus, they may not connect so much as a cultural thing. So that could be there as well. Now, of course, if somebody's transcendental, means I'm not wanting to say some gurus are not transcendental, but when someone is certain gurus, they're able just to, it doesn't matter, they attract a large audience. It could be Indian, this, that, it doesn't matter. There's no cultural barriers there, because ultimately Christian consciousness, there is no cultural barriers. But it's another thing to take in consideration that, oh, this person comes from a Vaishnav, this person comes from a bad family, materialistic background, and now he's a guru, so he's worse. But if a person's qualified, they're qualified. Yeah, despite their past. So that's another thing. All right, any other things before we stop? Yes, sorry.
Page 11 now, just for this reference, page 11, we had this postman example. Delivering the $100 and doesn't matter. And then next one says it, Guru may be disqualified or not liberated, but this can have type of Guru.
Yeah.
Because the message and the principle is
Yeah.
I think I had a question about Prabhu this.
So Pawan has a question, I'll repeat it.
Second verse, you say to qualification.
Yeah.
And then saying there is an analogy of firewood in the hand.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Okay. So Pawan's asking about on page 33, there was a second verse, and it was saying that with firewood in hand, means to understand these things properly, one must humbly approach with firewood in hand a guru who is learned in the Vedas. Now, what does this mean with firewood in hand? It means that this is traditionally speaking in which the disciples would go out and collect firewood. And the reason they collect firewood was not because, you know, everyone was cold or something. Maybe there was something like that. But the reason they collect firewood is because they would use this firewood to do yagyas, you know, the fire sacrifices that everybody loves so much. You know, the fire sacrifices, chanting mantras, right? Watching the fire burn, throwing grains in. So that's what he was referring to. Yeah. So we may not collect firewood, but we could distribute books or we could do other services for the guru. So
another analogy says learned in the Vedas.
Learn it in the Vedas.
Vedas, and then the second paragraph says may not be very learned scholar.
Yeah.
So it means that it's a essence, knowing the Veda.
Yeah, Pawan's bringing up that it says, it's an interesting point here. Because it's like, may seem contradictory, right? Mundaka Upanishad saying they have to be learned in the Vedas, right? The guru has to be learned in the Vedas. But then in the quote on page 33, Prabhupada says, but he must have heard the Vedic knowledge through the disciplic succession. He must be established in service to Krishna. He does not have to be a very learned scholar, but he must have heard from the proper authority. Yeah, it means that they know the essence. They know the essence of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So that's what it's referring to. Okay, so we could go to page 34. Page 34. This is a very detailed page here. All right. The following steps are adapted from ISKCON law, which is made by the GBC. Regarding steps toward initiation, the laws are presented in full in Appendix 5, page 72. I guess you could look at that in your free time if you like. So you have 1 year preparatory period, Prabhupada Padashraya, taking shelter of Prabhupada, Diksha and Shiksha Guru Padashraya, taking shelter of the Diksha and Shiksha Gurus, and then you have Harinam initiation. Means first initiation. So this is the general outline of the steps to take initiation. So I think some of this will be on the test as well. I don't know about all of it, but some of it, because it's a lot. But so 1 year preparatory period. Engage favorably in devotional service, strictly follow 4 regulatory principles, chant 16 rounds a day, attend full morning program. That's for temple residents. Attend morning program at home or Namhat to non-temple residents. So have some morning program, chanting rounds, following principles. And in terms of the rounds, we could gradually make our way up to 16, ideally. So we do 2, then we do 4, 6, 8. We try to steadily keep those rounds going and then steadily increase over time. That's the idea until we get to 16. And then you have Prabhupada Padashraya. Focus attention on Srila Prabhupada as preeminent Shiksha Guru. Chant Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantra while offering obeisances. So these are things that a person will do when getting ready for initiation. And after. Receive guidance from respective ISKCON spiritual authorities, Shiksha Gurus, complete ISKCON disciple course. So we're in the process of completing the ISKCON disciple course. At least that's one to check off. Diksha Shiksha Guru Padashraya. After a minimum of 6 months of following the above, one may select an ISKCON authorized Diksha Guru from amongst one's established Shiksha Gurus. Note that 6 months is the minimum period and one may take as much time as required to make this selection. So it's not that after 6 months, you have to make a decision. You could make it later. Responsibility of candidates to choose guru by the exercise of their own intelligence. Notify the local temple president or relevant authority. Take written examination issued by ISKCON authority. Sometimes there's a test, a first initiation test, which is just done with more or less the basic philosophy. It's simple. Receive formal letter of recommendation from ISKCON authority. Authority means a temple president, for example, like Bhagavat Priya. Yeah, pretty much in the case of devotees in Las Vegas, it'd be Bhagavat Priya, the temple president, to get a recommendation letter. Receive permission from the selected guru. Begin to worship that guru and chant his pranam mantra, followed by at least the first of Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantra. So you may get, what devotees do is when they're accepted by a guru, they have a picture of the guru. And they put that picture on their altar. Means there's Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Jagannath, Baladeva, Srila Prabhupada, there's the disciplic succession, and they also have a little picture of their guru. So, and it makes sense because someone say, oh, why do I have to picture my guru? That's kind of like, what's going on? You know, that's kind of strange. But the thing is, when we have affection and love and devotion, just say affection for somebody, you know, we keep a little picture of them. Keep a picture of our, you know, family picture of us and our, you know, whatever, mother, father, brother, sisters, or whoever, our friend, you know, us and our friend, or there's people do that. They have family. You practically go in any house, you're going to see a bunch of family pictures, right? Generally. So it's a similar principle. We have affection for the guru, so we have a little picture. What's going on there? Who is that?
I don't know.
What are they doing?
Trash, I think, cleaning
Oh.
the trash.
We're getting a lot of,
Sunday food.
they're testing my ability to control my anger. No, I with anger, when I was a teenager, I was, you know, confused and very and angry. I wouldn't say extreme anger, but you know, most teenagers are. But over the years, I never had a what do you call, like a huge, yeah, never had. I mean, when I was a teenager, I did, but since then, I've never really had huge issues with anger. So somehow or other, not that things didn't bother me, not that things didn't irritate me, not that things didn't annoy me, but with my anger, you know. So anyways, I guess I should pray that I'm able to continue and get better at that also. But not that information really matters, but I just thought I'd share that with you. So back to, where were we?
In addition,
Where is that? In addition to taking instruction from one's selected Diksha Guru, one continues to take instruction from one's established Shiksha Gurus. Yeah, we're talking about the picture, so it's natural to have a picture up. And for example, if you're offering Bhoga to Krishna, means food, you first chant your Guru's Pranam mantra, then Prabhupada's, and then Lord Chaitanya, and then, you know, Krishna. So we're offering it to them. And the idea is we offer things to the Guru, and the Guru offers it to Krishna. So communicate to Guru and local authorities if one decides to aspire for initiation from another ISKCON Guru. Like, I think somebody here was mentioning that, I think it was that they were listening to a particular Guru, and then they were very inspired. And then they saw that Guru in person, and there just didn't seem to be much of a connection. So we may be thinking in our mind, okay, I really want to take initiation from this Guru. And then, okay, Bhagavat Priya Prabhu, please send the recommendation letter. Okay, it's accepted. All right, I'm aspiring. And then you meet the Guru, and there's not much connection there. So you think, okay, well, maybe I think I'll just try to strive for somebody else. I mean, it's a little slightly awkward, but it's fine. And if that what needs to be done, that needs to be done. But to communicate with the temple president. All right, Harinam initiation. After a subsequent minimum of 6 months, one may accept Vaishnav Diksha initiation. The Guru is under no obligation to initiate a candidate. In other words, if the Guru thinks that a person is not ready, even though maybe the disciple feels they're ready, then the Guru he's not under an obligation to initiate. But generally, they do. After initiation, one may accept additional Shiksha Gurus with the permission of one's Diksha Guru. So generally, when one takes initiation, there's more of a sense of being guided by this Diksha Guru, so then it's natural to communicate. Guru Maharaj or Guru Dev, that's what you call the Guru. Guru Maharaj, I'm thinking about taking some instruction from this person. What do you think? And they may say, I don't think it's a good idea because this reason, this reason, this reason. Or they may say, yeah, no problem. It's a very good idea. Please. So in other words, we want the blessings of the Guru for the different steps in our life. So are there any questions about any of this on page 34, this long list of different things? Yes, Justin. B.
Yeah, does this say we have to wait 6 months after picking a guru? Or is that what it's saying?
Generally the whole process is what does it say here? After 6 months of the following above, one may select an ISKCON authorized Diksha Guru. So it means after, in other words, after chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds, following the principles, engaging in devotional service, right? Taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada, we're understanding the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. After going through that 6 months, we have a sense, okay, what is a guru? Why should I accept a guru? And then we may select a guru, right? And then it says, note that 6 months is the minimum period, and one may take as much time as required to make the selection. In other words, after 6 months, you can make a selection. But if you want to wait longer, you can wait longer to make this selection. And then after a subsequent minimum of 6 months, one may accept Diksha Guru. So one may accept initiation. So yeah, after 6 months, one may accept. Generally, that's a little quick. And that I've seen, generally after taking shelter of a guru, then it's about a year usually. Yeah, but it could happen in 6 months if somebody's very enthusiastic or whatever. So does that satisfy your? All right, what about Justin M? You had something?
Yeah, I have 4 questions, and if you want, I can email them or something. I don't want to
All right, well, the
everybody's time
first
up, but
one,
I can
the first answer is no. The second answer is yes. The third answer is maybe. And the fourth answer is, I'm going to think about it and get back to you. No, I'm just
Okay.
joking.
Okay,
I'm
that works.
just joking. There was this time though, there was this man and he didn't know English, right? So then he figured, okay, I'll just know 3 words and that will be good enough. That would be good enough. So then what happened was, apparently there was a bank robbery and this guy was being blamed for it. So the police came. And then the police said, did you do this? And then the guy said, yes. And then he said, do you have anything to say about, you going to jail? And the guy said, no. And then the police said, okay, we're taking you to jail. And the guy said, very good. Anyways.
That's rough.
Well, I think you could ask your questions now, and yeah, you could ask your questions now. And then we could entertain them now, some of them or all of them, or I could just answer them through email, but you could ask now.
Okay, I'll stick to the more simple ones. So the part about engaging favorably in devotional service, what's the measuring stick for that? Like, how does that work? Is it basically, does the prospective guru decide that? Does the temple president? Is it just like, oh, Justin does the food truck and he washes pots sometimes? Or is it like, this guy goes to Harinam all the time? Like, who makes that determination, and what is the metric?
Well, one is the authorities, your ISKCON authorities, but two is that I would advise that you study the nectar of instruction.
Okay.
Thoroughly. For example, they say that there's 6 things that are favorable to devotional service and 6 things that are unfavorable. Atyahara priyascha prajalpa niyamagraha janasanga shilalam cha shadbir bhakti vinashati. So overeating, over collecting, atyahara priyascha prajalpa, speaking nonsense, prajalpa niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations mechanically, or following them or not following them. Niyamagra janasanga, associating with materialistic people who aren't interested with Krishna consciousness. Lauliam cha, being greedy for material achievements. Shadbir bhakti vinashati, this destroys devotional service, these 6 things. And there's 6 things that are favorable. Utsaha nishchaya daryat tat tat karma vavartanat sangat tyagat satovite shadbir bhakti prasidati. So utsaha nishchaya daryat, to engage in Krishna consciousness with enthusiasm, utsaha nishchaya, and patience. Nishchaya daryat, enthusiasm, patience, confidence. Tat tat karma pavartanat, to follow all the rules and regulations. Tat tat karma pavartanat sangat tyagat, anyways, to associate with devotees and so on. So anyways, but I would just advise that you read this nectar of instruction.
Okay.
And I think for the purpose of time, because we've allotted about until 5 o'clock for the class, and I don't want to hold anybody up because they may have things to do, but please, Justin, you email me.
Okay.
Your other questions, and I will answer them promptly. Is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be great. That's
okay.
Fine.
All right. So there's just a few more things we'll read, and then we'll finish. So, all right. This is page 35. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. Commentary, purport. Sanatana Goswami clearly defines herein the bona fide spiritual master of the world. The qualifications expressed in this connection are that one must act according to the scriptural injunctions and at the same time preach or teach. One who does so is a bona fide spiritual master. So you have to follow and teach. Whether one is a Brahmin, a priest, a sannyasi, monk, or a Shudra worker, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya says that every one of you become the spiritual master, every one of you. Why 1, 2, every one of you? Oh, my spiritual master. Oh, spiritual master is a very difficult job. No difficult job. Chaitanya Maha Amara Agyaya. Just try to carry out my order. That's all. Then you become spiritual master. So how everyone can become a spiritual master? A spiritual master must have sufficient knowledge. So many other qualifications. No, even without any qualifications, one can become a spiritual master. How? Now the process is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Amara Agyaya, on my order. That is the crucial point. One does not become spiritual master by his own whims. That is not spiritual mastery. He must be ordered by superior authority, then he's spiritual master. Amara Gaya. Just like in our case, our superior authority, our spiritual master, ordered me that you must that you try to preach the gospel, this gospel, whatever you have learned from me in English. So we have tried it, that's all. It is not that I am very much qualified. The only qualification is that I've tried to execute the order of superior authority. That's all. This is the secret of success. So 37 you could read on your free time. These are additional quotes, but we'll read 36, page 36. The Shastras enjoin that before we take a guru, we study him carefully to find out whether we can surrender to him. In other words, can I take advice from this person? Can I follow this person? We should study. We should not accept a guru suddenly out of fanaticism. That is very dangerous. The guru should also study the person who wants to become a disciple to see if he is fit. This is the way a relationship is established between the guru and disciple. In Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami is directed that the spiritual master and the disciple must meet together at least for 1 year, so the disciple may also may also understand that here is a person whom I can accept as my guru. And the guru also can see that here is a person who is fit for becoming my disciple. Then the business is nice. So therefore the process is, before accepting a guru, one must hear him at least for 1 year. So to hear, to listen to the lectures. And when he is convinced that here is actually the guru who can teach me, then you accept him. Guru, don't accept whimsically. The scriptures recommend that both the guru and the disciple place each other under strict scrutiny before mutual acceptance, since even ordinary household items are tested before acquisition. It is only an unfortunate fool who will fail to go through a testing period in the selection of his true spiritual master, who is the best friend of all living entities. The point is that one must not bring upon himself the calamity of having to reject his spiritual master. If one is prudent, he can avoid such a situation. Read 2 more. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunctions. Jiva Goswami advised that one not accept a guru in terms of hereditary or customary social and ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. It is the personal responsibility of candidates for initiation to correctly choose, by the exercise of their own intelligence, a particular devotee as spiritual master. Candidates for initiation should accept initiation from a guru only after developing firm and mature faith in that devotee and his ability to take them back to Godhead. Sadhu, Shastra, Scripture, and Guru are the authoritative references to apply in ascertaining the level of advancement of a devotee. Receiving official ISKCON Guru approval signifies that the devotee has successfully completed the authorization process set forth in ISKCON law, and that in the judgment of certain senior devotees, the candidate measures up to the standards and guidelines given in ISKCON law. However, such approval is not automatically to be taken as a statement about the degree of God realization of the approved guru, and it is not intended to replace the intelligent discrimination of the candidate. This is ISKCON law. So these quotes are stressing the importance of devotees exercising their own discrimination or intelligence in selecting a guru, and they do make sense. So does anybody have any questions or comments about any of this? All right, we have one in-house. Yes.
So you just mentioned they really strict rules and more effective guidelines.
So someone's asking me that, are these strict rules or these guidelines? Both. Well, I mean, they could be, they're rules, you could say, a lot of rules, but I mean, these are things that our acharyas are advising us to do. Now, we may not do them. We may not do them, but
So here's what I was going with.
we
So
should
you
do
mentioned
them.
this comparison to, we don't normally buy home goods without a trial period. something
Yes.
like that. Well, so, I mean, and you know how I came to mind, right? So for me, if I get a reference from people whose opinion I trust, and they say, hey, this oven is good, I don't need to check it out. I trust that they did,
Okay,
and I have enough faith in them that I'm not probably gonna waste my time doing what I know, not I think, I know they did, because I know these people.
yeah.
And I know that they would check it out more, or greater detail,
So-
more.
So it's a good point. Thank you. So this is being brought up from Michael that,
And this is, I just want to also add, and this was a large part of me. I mean, I had I'm emotional and impulsive, I recognize that. And I didn't want to, based on fanaticism, select
yeah,
my group. So I ran it by some people at this time, who I know to be calm, collected, and knowing. And when I mentioned his name, well, I could tell by their reactions, oh, okay, my selection, he is qualified.
yeah,
And I hope he accepts me.
yeah,
So I didn't really do a lot of, to be honest with you, I didn't know research.
yeah,
I didn't really listen to a single lecture.
yeah.
So I'm not saying that's wrong.
No, not in certain cases. Everything, it's hard to put black and white, not everything's black and white. But so Michael's bringing up the point that based on references, you may not, if you trust the person who's given the reference, then you may not have to do as much study. Right? Yeah, so that's
If they're familiar with.
a
person,
logical
right? They
conclusion.
have knowledge of the person.
But the one thing is that tomorrow the oven goes wrong, then blame others, right?
Yeah,
The people who referred.
yeah, Pawan's saying that in relation to if your friends give you good reference, hey, this oven's great, and then it breaks the next day. And then someone may blame, the reference. Hey, you gave me this bad reference,
I'm gonna say, you know what, he gave you an honest referral. I perhaps should have done my own due diligence.
Yeah, but I think for most people in most cases, better to err on the side of
I agree.
a lot of investigation. So
This is why I asked my next question, are these hard rules, how do they affect the suggestions?
well, they're not absolute, but they are, again, better err on that side.
Yeah, of course.
So for many reasons.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Any last?
I know there's a big guru, initiating guru list. Is there one that's broken down by state? It'd be nice, but if I could find someone who here.
It'd be nice if what?
If I could find a guru that, lived close by, it seems like most of the initiating gurus are like in California, like that seems to be where they are. Like, do we have any here in Las Vegas?
Yeah. Yeah, there's not any in Las Vegas, but there are some in California, and there are some on the West Coast. But yeah, we could give a list of those living on the West Coast. Like there's Vaisheshika, Prabhu, Giraj Swami, Bajranarayan Swami is also there. The person who's visiting you in Las Vegas.
Is the location of your guru
There's,
important?
yeah, he's asking, is the location of the guru important? Well, you may be able to see them more, which might be an important aspect in a person's life. But a lot of the times the gurus travel all around, so you may not see them much, once a year, twice a year, something like that. But if you do have a guru on the West Coast, there's a lot more chance you could, see more of him, obviously, for clear reasons. So that might be a consideration people have, that let me have a guru who's situated near me so I could more opportunity to serve and see him. So, but I mean, what I did in previous ISKCON Disciples courses, not all of them, just kind of somewhat recent ones I've given, the last couple ones, I've provided a list of gurus who I thought who at least I have conviction and faith in as being solid persons who I know, who I have some relationship with. So I've listed a group of those devotees for devotees to, if they want, to listen to their lectures or follow their social media or whatever. So I could also do that this time. And even if devotees are not like, all right, I'm searching for my guru right now, I'm the guru search. Even if they just get these collected names that I'll list, that I'll give later, or I'll give, eventually, that they could just listen to them for inspiration, just inspiration, Krishna consciousness. So, yeah. But it's a list of like, 5 at the most. So, yeah. All right. So, what did it say in the chat? Okay, I guess that's not anything. I just put superficial reasons. All right. All right, well, I guess that concludes. So next week, next Sunday, we'll continue with lesson 7 and interesting one, and then we have many other interesting ones coming up. So, all right. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, Justin.
Hare Krishna.
What about Justin B? What happened to him?
I'm just driving now.
Oh, you're driving. Okay. All right. Okay,
Thank you for the
see you later.
class.
Yeah, Justin, please email me those.
Okay, I'm writing them up right now. Thank you,
All right.
brother.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, Justin B, have a nice time at the temple. Make sure you try to talk with Bhajan Swami after the class.
Yes, I've been talking to him. He's very nice. I like him a lot.
Tell him that I don't know. Tell him that you're taking the ISKCON disciple course with Balaram Das.
Yes, Balaram sent me.
Yes. Say I sent you to him.
I'll tell him.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.